edition of the Pie Bomb Wrestling Podcast, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher. You can follow me at Chris Belcher24 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The show's at PBW Podcast. Give us a follow on there. We would appreciate it. Back in person again, Mr. Andy York, the young buck. Here we are. Took a week off from being in person, or a day, I guess.
An episode.
An episode.
Yeah, we took an episode off just because it was easier to do that one on the fly like we did.
It was.
Get in person.
But. It was. So if you haven't gone back and checked out our bonus episode from last Tuesday, Mr. Jared Justice joined us. We talked all about Survivor Series.
Yep.
I know we typically do that on our Friday show, but we dropped a little early bonus show for you. So we're not going to talk any Survivor Series on this show. So make sure you go back and check out Tuesdays. And Andy, like you said, the intro of that podcast, those are always so much fun.
Oh, they're a blast. You never know what's going to be said, and they're a train wreck, but they're the most. They're like an AEW 6-man pay-per-view no holds barred tag match. They're a train wreck that you just can't look away from, and you look forward to every single time.
That's true. I laughed out loud just as hard when I went back and listened to the Survivor Series review with Jared's joke about the 76-year-old woman.
Yes.
I laughed just as hard when I listened to it the second time.
Yeah.
So for those of you who might be clueless as to what I'm talking about, go back and listen to it or don't. I mean, whatever.
Miss out on the fun.
Miss out on the fun. That's right. But go back and check it out. A lot of fun. We reviewed Survivor Series with Jared. Also, make sure you go back and check out our PBWF episodes every Tuesday. Week 18 is on its way out this coming Tuesday. So we are headed towards the end. We announced plans on there about pay-per-view number 6.
Yep.
So make sure you're checking that out so that you know what's coming in the future for the PBWF. Also, make sure you subscribe wherever you find your podcast and on the BodySlam.net YouTube channel, and you're supporting Tom and the guys over at SportsWire Radio, incredible partners that we have, and we want to make sure you support them as well. Also, special announcement for today, Andy, we are going to end season 3 due to the holidays.
Yep.
So we've got 2 more episodes coming your way. What those are going to be are our year-end awards. We did that last year, and we decided that was a lot of fun. So we're going to do it again. We are going to split AEW and WWE so we can give time for both. So WWE will be next week.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be on the December the 9th. December the 16th, we will give our year-end awards for AEW. And then that'll be the end of season 3. And then we will pick back up on January. I'm looking for the date. January the 13th will be your next. January the 6th.
Yep.
Will be your next current product episode. So season 4, can't believe that's a real thing, man. Season 4 will begin on January the 6th.
Yep.
And if you're a listener of the PBWF, your last PBWF, we will be continuing PBWF. Our pay-per-view will air on December the 27th.
It's my birthday.
That is your birthday. Happy birthday on the pay-per-view. December 27th, our pay-per-view. We will not have an episode on January the 3rd, again, due to the holidays.
Right.
And then week 21, the first week in the final month of season 1 of the PBWF, will be on January the 10th. Lots of dates. Mark your calendar.
Yeah, and I can't believe we've done 100 episodes in season 3. I think I've been on, like, when we both started doing this full time. I think it was at the beginning of season 3.
It was tail end of season 2, I think.
Yeah,
and then season 3.
So like I can't believe we've been doing this for like 100 episodes. Like that's insane.
Yep.
To me. And then also, like, I can't believe we're already at the end of the first season of PBWF. So like,
right.
Time goes by really fast. It goes by very, very, very fast. But we're having a blast while we're doing it.
So again, we're having an absolute blast. We really are. So mark your calendars. January the 10th will begin month number 6, and then February the 7th, not to throw another date at you, February the 7th will be the final pay-per-view of season 1.
Yep.
And then following that, I'm sure we'll do a review show,
yep.
and then we'll figure all that out later. So Just so you know, January the 3rd, we will not have a PBWF episode. December the 9th will be our year-end review of WWE. And December the 16th will be our year-end review of AEW.
Yep.
The 23rd and the 30th, we will not have episodes, and we will start back January the 6th. And if that's not enough for you, may have a special guest coming on next week.
Possibly.
To help us out with some year-end review. More on that. Follow our social media at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, let's get to it. We covered a whole lot of WWE stuff on Tuesday, so we're going to pivot to AEW. We've got a lot of AEW coming up, or we missed last week, because of the Survivor Series review and all that kind of stuff. Preview. So we missed last week. We're going to catch you up on last week and this past week. And we couldn't do that without starting with William Regal and all of the craziness that is going on with William Regal. Man, we wondered after watching Full Gear, he turns on Mox, what's going to happen? How is all this going to shake out? MJF wasn't on Dynamite last week.
Right.
And Regal came out and cut a promo.
Yep.
And we had the confrontation with Mox and with Brian. Mox told him to go away and never come back.
Yep.
Then this week, the turn happens.
Yep.
You don't make a deal with the devil. MJF turns on Regal, and Brian comes out to try to make the save. Before we dive into all of the online rumor and innuendo about Regal and his contract, because trust me, we're going to get there.
Yep.
Just this situation as a whole, the last 2 weeks on the surface, what's been your thoughts?
I've enjoyed it. I've honestly loved every second of it, because I think it's really interesting to me that Regal it makes sense for me that Regal would turn on Moxley to join MJF, and they would have that conversation, because they are absolutely two guys with the same mindset when it comes to wrestling. I feel like MJF and Regal. And so I feel like it's smart that they would come together. And then also I think it's brilliant that MJF was like, you don't make a deal with the devil, and turned on him like the next week, because none of us thought if MJF was going to turn on Regal that it would be that quickly, that soon.
Right.
And so that was brilliant. You could hear the crowd's reaction when he hit him, when MJF hit Regal. They were like, wait, what? We just got together. What is happening right now? So that, I thought the way that they've handled it and they've executed it the last couple of weeks, I thought was really fantastic.
See, I'm the opposite. Like, if Regal's going to turn on these guys, let's throw the contract situation out of the way, because I think that's thrown a real wrinkle into all of this. Let's throw that out of the way, though. In my head, it would not make sense for Regal to turn, and then immediately MJF turns on Regal. Then what do you do with Regal at that point? You know? Like, I feel like storyline wise, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I guess I know you don't need a talker for MJF, clearly, but I think I don't know.
I don't think this turn would have happened though without the contract stuff. Like, I think this turn was because of what's about to happen with Regal.
Right.
But then again, for MJF, to me, it makes sense for MJF to do this because of the whole promo he cut on Regal a couple weeks ago, saying, "You told me I wasn't good enough. You told me that I wasn't this, and now." Yeah, you can ride my coattails. And then he gets the turn, like, then he turns on him and says, no. I'd never, the devil never forgets.
Right.
Like, I never forgot what you did to me. To me, that aspect of it makes sense.
Right.
Not for Regal, but for MJF, it makes total sense for him to be like, to use Regal to get the title and then be like, I don't need you. Like,
right.
I used you like you used me for years. Let me turn on you now. Like, that, to me, that makes more sense than anything else.
I get that. I do. It's just a lot of swerves. I hate to say it that way.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's just a lot. You know?
Is, yeah. And again, though, I think if the contract situation wasn't what it was,
right,
I think we would have waited a little bit for that.
Full discretion. Nobody sitting at this table or probably listening to this podcast knows what the contract situation is. We don't know.
No.
All we know is what's been rumored online, and that is that William Regal signed a 3-year deal with AEW, but he has an out clause that would get him out in December.
The beginning of December.
beginning of December,
Yeah, which is
right now. So that's the story.
Yeah.
It would make sense, like you said, with this angle and everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Triple H adding fuel to the fire.
Oh yes, he did. He knew what he was doing when he did that.
See, I know. I think you're right, but I also think at the same time, the tweet can also be taken as pure
Oh,
nostalgia.
absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
Regal's a huge part of War Games
Right.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it may have been a shot. I lean more on the side of that it wasn't.
I don't think it was a shot. I think it was just. I think it was a nice little wink to Regal, to be like. I think it was like, yes, you can't really have a War Games in WWE right now without William Regal yelling War Games. Like that's just you.
Right.
Even in the PBWF when you did it, you used Regal to announce you were doing War Games.
Right.
So like that, to me, that makes sense. But also, I think Triple H is smart enough to be like, he wants Regal.
Sure, he does.
If you watched
Absolutely, he
watched
does.
NXT at all when Triple H was in charge, Regal, to me, Regal was the most consistent and one of the best parts of NXT.
Right.
Is how they handled him in NXT. So he obviously wants Regal. And I think that was like a little, nostalgia, but also Regal,
Right.
come back and play with us because we're gonna have some fun now that I'm in charge.
Are you good? Are you good with him going back to WWE?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Do you think? Are you saying that because of what he did in NXT, or because there's not a place for him in AEW?
No. I think there's a place for him in AEW. I feel like it's one of those. I feel the same way about Adam Cole in AEW. Like Adam Cole being in AEW, I'm totally fine with. But him under Triple H's regime in WWE,
Right.
Then again, though, I said the same thing about Johnny Gargano, and we've seen that that's not been.
Hey,
the best
I
thing.
will say this. I know we're kind of punting on WWE content for this episode, but I will say this. We've talked a lot about Johnny and Miz and all that last couple weeks, whatever. I will say this. At least Johnny's been on TV every week since he's come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple times.
Multiple times.
Sometimes for good, sometimes not for good.
Exactly. But at least he's on TV
Yeah.
every single week.
Yeah. And and for AEW's credit, I mean, Adam Cole's injured right now. And,
Absolutely.
And he can't do anything.
Right.
So, it's just one of those, we're not going to know until he comes back completely. But with Regal, I think you can replace Adam Pearce's role that he's been doing, throw Regal in to both main roster shows, and boom. Like it feels bigger instantly because Regal's the one being in charge. I mean, Regal being the one dealing with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns feels perfect, in my opinion. Regal dealing with Seth Rollins, Regal dealing with the Miz, like all of it seems to make sense to me more than Adam Pearce. And I think what he was doing with AEW, I mean, I said it for the whole year he was there. Regal being a part of Blackpool Combat Club made Blackpool Combat Club 10 times better.
Yep.
Like they were good before he joined. After he joined, it was like a match made in heaven.
Sure.
But Regal just fits that Triple H mold in WWE perfectly.
Yep.
And I think so that's why I'm totally fine with it. If he went back to WWE, if he stays in AEW, I'm gonna be happy. If he goes to WWE, I'm gonna be happy as well.
So that's what the future is for Regal, which again is very uncertain. We don't know.
He can show up tonight on SmackDown.
There's speculation that he's going to show back up in WWE, and we don't know.
Right.
He could be staying in AEW. It seems like he's going to WWE since AEW seemingly wrote him off. I will say this. I'm glad that he came back this past week so that MJF can turn, because if last week would have been the write-off with Moxley just saying leave and never come back, I think that's cheap. And that would have been horrible.
Yeah. And Regal is absolutely one of those guys. He's always been, I feel like in his career, he's not going to leave something undone.
No.
And he's not going to leave without making someone without elevating someone.
Sure.
And the Moxley promo doesn't really elevate Moxley. But MJF turning on Regal, MJF already was a hated man. Now he turned on Regal, and it's the he's going to be even nuclear now.
Right. For sure. So that's what it is for Regal. We don't know, but let's talk about what it is for AEW and for the World Heavyweight Championship specifically. Ricky Starks, we saw last week win the world title eliminator tournament.
Yep.
He's going to take on MJF at Winter is Coming. Okay, that's fine. And maybe you're building to this later, but wouldn't it make sense for MJF's first challenger to now be Brian after the whole Regal thing?
Yeah, but I feel like we're probably building to that at some point. I just feel like
Revolution, maybe
probably, because if you're gonna have the tournament, you gotta fulfill the tournament obligation. And
yeah.
so, and I feel, to me, obviously Bryan Danielson would be a great first opponent for MJF, but I feel like you want to have him have one defense under his belt before he gets to Danielson. Ricky Starks is the perfect guy for that. Just
2, if you count the Dynamite Diamond Ring deal that they're doing next week, which counts the same as the chip and whatever.
Right, but I feel like getting 1 or 2 defense under his belt before someone like Danielson comes in, it just adds to MJF even more. Plus, gives Ricky Stark, who the fans have been dying to get a shot for a long time, gives him that chance, the opportunity. And then we're building to probably Moxley and Danielson. Or not Moxley and Danielson, MJF and Danielson at Revolution whenever it comes up. Because we're also building to Moxley and Page, which I'm here for.
Clearly, we saw Adam Page come back, and he and Moxley just beating the snot out of each other. Man, we've said this so many times on this podcast, and nobody's listening. John Moxley needs to take a freaking vacation.
He may just not want to.
Bro,
he's addicted to it.
Go.
He's addicted to it. He loves it.
Take 2 months off. Take a month off. Like something.
I will say this. I agree. He needs it. Like, the dude he's worked so hard the last 2 years in AEW.
Yeah.
But it just, AEW feels kind of back to where it was before all the injury bug happened with Omega and with Moxley and with Page and with everybody. Like, everybody seems to be back now.
Except for Adam Cole.
But but everyone, all the major players other than Cole are finally back.
The major players are in AEW.
You know what I'm talking about. They're not good enough for AEW. I'm just playing.
Clearly, they're not.
But like, all the big time factors in AEW are back.
Right.
And so now we're starting to see these heavy feuds, like a Moxley Page going at it, Danielson, MJF going at it. So it's just going to be really interesting to see where we're going from here.
Right. Yeah, we will see. We'll see with Hangman and with Mox, and now, like we mentioned, Ricky Starks and Brian and whoever wins the, Ethan Page seemingly basically calling his shot for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Let's talk about somebody else who returned, and that's not just one return. That was 3 returns last week. The House of Black. 4. That's right, Julia Hart. I always forget about her. Making their return on Dynamite. That crowd went wild when they showed up.
They have been building the return to them fantastic. Yep. Those video packages they've been doing have been like, they've done a great job with that. Everybody loves Malachi Black.
Yep.
Like, whether he's in WWE or AEW, the NXT crowd loved Aleister Black. He was one of the best things about NXT during that heyday.
Right.
He's one of the best things about AEW. When the pop was just as big when he debuted,
right,
as it was when he just returned here recently. The crowd went crazy for it.
It's true.
And I'm excited that they're back, and I hope round 2 goes a little better than round 1, because round 1 was a little rough.
Round 1 started out great, and then we sort of fell off, and we tried to catch our momentum, and it just didn't work.
Round 1 started off great for the first 2 rounds, and then we had the third match with Cody, and Cody won, and we're like, oh, what are we doing here now? And then it just kind of, the Cody effect was very bad at AEW at that point, and it kind of spiraled from that point on. But I feel like, I'm not saying Malachi Black needs to be in the world title picture. Absolutely, he could be at some point, and I'm fine with that. But going after, he can go after the Elite now. They can go after Death Triangle again.
You better believe that whoever wins this best of 7 series,
the next opponent is
House of Black, for sure.
Which we haven't really seen the Elite versus House of Black, and that would be fun. That would be very fun.
That would be a blast. Let's talk about that. The best of 7. We saw match 2 and match 3 last week, and then this past episode. with the Death Triangle leading 2-1. I'm glad they clarified the title situation. That was a question that we had. They clarified that. Let's talk about the Chicago show first. Let's talk about the heat that the Elite got. Man, I'm fine with them mocking Punk.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with them because we knew it was going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
What I thought was a bit much was the biting spot. I thought it was too much.
I didn't, for the fact that we don't know still what exactly happened.
I know.
And you know what? If you're gonna get heat, if you're gonna mock them, go full throttle with it.
I guess.
I popped hard for the buckshot lariat spot when Matt Jackson.
Oh yeah,
fell.
that was great. Yes,
I died when that happened. I was dying when that happened. But I gotta tell you, and I'm putting my conspiracy hat on.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not shocked if Punk comes back at this point. I think I think there was an altercation that happened.
Yep.
Maybe even to the extent that it was portrayed to us.
Yep.
But if they were playing into it this much, there is too much money on the table right now for a Punk Omega feud that AEW would be dumb not to just say one more match. Let's just do this. Let's everybody make money, and then if you want to leave, you can leave. But I feel like Punk may come back at some point.
You're probably right. And but for the reasons that I think are different than what you just laid out. Well, let me be careful what I say here. I think what you laid out is absolutely correct. I think there's money on the table. Fans would eat it up.
Absolutely. Especially if it happened in Chicago.
What's real, what's not, yada, 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 whatever. Like, that's a money personal feud now. And CM Punk's been known to do business with people that he personally doesn't like. Like that. We've done all that. Okay. So I think he can put his business hat on. I think the Bucks and Omega can put their business hat on. Why I think he's coming back, and I've said this all along. I have always thought he's coming back.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Tony Khan has the guts to fire him.
Well, if there's money on the table right now, why would you?
Because what he did was he literally has had all these people who can't stand him in the locker room.
Right.
He caused whatever happened. Now, I'm not saying the Bucks and Kenny are innocent.
Right.
We've rehashed all that. We've talked about that. But CM Punk has been the center focus of controversy everywhere that he goes.
Yep.
But I also think Tony Khan's a fanboy and he doesn't have the guts to fire him.
What are the chances that we were 1,000% worked in all of this?
Pretty good.
Because I've heard somebody say it and I didn't believe it until they started hashing it out. I was like, that kind of makes sense. What if Punk realized after the match he was injured?
Yeah.
Went to Tony and said, all right, at this press conference, I'm just going to go after everybody. You can suspend me until I come back in January or whatever for injury. And then boom, big surprise return. Here we go.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a chance. I don't think it's true. I don't think it happens.
See, I don't either. I think just about every angle in wrestling you can sit and dissect and be like, oh, this could just all be, whatever.
Montreal screw job.
I still think there's a real good chance that was a work. I'm just.
Who is it? Kevin Nash says it's 1,000%.
Scott Hall.
Scott Hall said it was 1,000% of work.
Yep. Scott Hall, and his reasoning is absolutely
made sense.
Dead on.
It made sense.
Anyway, beside the point. So yes, there's a good chance this is all the work. But I lean towards it not being because controversy seems to follow CM Punk, and
absolutely.
It just.
But then again, that mindset of say, there's always a controversy with me, so why don't we just play into it?
Right.
Like that.
That's true.
I mean, that to me, and that let's not tell anybody in the locker room. It's just between me and you and the Elite. And you can suspend the Elite. You can suspend us. We can go this way. Fire Ace Steel. He's got other stuff he wants to do. Blah blah whatever. Like I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not even saying that is what happened. I think there's like less than a 5% chance that that's what took place. But boy, if that happened, that might be the greatest work of all time.
Well, yes. While I can see where you're coming from, the pushback that I just thought of that came to me is. You were crowning the first trios tag team champions at the pay-per-view. Yep. Why would you immediately take that away?
I mean, there were some rumors that Kenny also had some underlying injuries that he needed some time to still heal from because he wasn't fully 100%. So I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there are some indications to point that this could be a work.
Sure.
I still think the altercation was real. I still think it fully happened.
Right.
We will never know
Right.
what happened.
Never.
Never.
Just like we'll never know the Montreal Screwjob, no matter how many people talk about it.
Exactly.
We
will never know what happens. It'll go down probably as the second biggest controversy in wrestling, one of the biggest controversies in wrestling history.
Right.
Behind the Montreal Screwjob, this. So we're never going to know what happens, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to be shocked.
Oh, no.
Next time we're in Chicago in AEW, which is like every month,
and Punk rolls around.
Yeah,
for sure.
Even at the end of this, I could see Death Triangle winning, still being tag champ or being the trios champ. Here comes Punk. Here comes FTR.
Right.
Or they are the champs, and here comes Punk and FTR after those titles. One of the two. Because Dax Harwood just did an interview with Sean Ross Sapp, and they talked about the Punk thing, and he said, look, Punk always had his door open. Punk watched matches that people asked him to watch, gave good feedback. He loves wrestling, so there aren't as many anti-Punk people in the locker room as we might think. Just the vocal might be anti-Punk.
Chris Jericho.
He's never liked Punk.
He's never liked CM Punk. That's right. Speaking of House of Black, I can't believe I forgot to mention this, and I sincerely apologize. Coming back last week, our boy Rosario Grillo getting some AEW Dynamite time.
Yes, sir, he is.
Look at that.
Yes, sir.
Taking a big boot from Malachi Black in his gear and everything. It's not like he was like a quote unquote security guard or whatever. No, it was him coming out. That was sweet.
That was sweet.
I popped pretty big for
I
that.
did too.
That was
great.
Too. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about somebody else who's been injured and at the center of controversy with some championships. Thunder Rosa, who we found out, we speculated on this podcast about what was going to happen with, who was going to win and, how Thunder Rosa played into all that. And we found out last week that Thunder Rosa has officially relinquished the championship. Toni Storm's reign was not considered interim anymore.
She was champ.
And now Jamie Hayter is the actual champ. Interesting.
Very interesting. I don't know if it was a legit injury or if she's just kind of was taking some time, whatever the case is. I'm glad we're not doing the interim stuff anymore. Like, it's been too long at this point to continue. At least with when Punk got hurt and we did the interim thing with Jon Moxley, it was only a couple months.
Right.
I feel like Thunder Rosa has been a lot longer than what we did with that. So it makes sense. I'm glad that we are kind of like Jamie Hayter, or Toni Storm was not interim champ. She is champ. I wish we would have said that kind of earlier.
Yes, I agree.
But they may not have worked something out until the pay-per-view. And then it made sense for them to wait until after the pay-per-view to do it with Jamie Hayter.
Right.
I'm glad we got rid of the interim, though. I don't know what the case is with Thunder Rosa. She's another one of those that controversy seems to follow.
And which I don't see that when I look at Thunder Rosa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not possible. And I don't know all the ins and outs of, all of Thunder Rosa's mishaps, and controversies and all that. I'm not saying when I look at CM Punk, I see controversy. He's kind of known for that. But when I look at Thunder Rosa, like that's not what I see, but
yeah, you never know. You honestly, even with the like I've talked about before, Sean Ross Sapp is probably my favorite wrestling media guy because he doesn't like to be called journalist. None of them do, which I agree. But he's probably my favorite. He's the one that has been right a lot more than he's been wrong in a lot of these cases. And so even when like the stuff they come out with, I'm like, okay, I'm taking like 90% of it to believe, and the rest of them like, okay, we're gonna just see how this plays out.
Sure.
And that's kind of been the case with her. But if it was just one thing, like one controversy case, then that's one. But she's had like 3 or 4.
What else has happened with her? Do you know?
Obviously, her and Britt have had
issues.
Right. She had issues with I don't remember her name now, but she like no-sold. She was in like a rest hold. I forget who it was. She was in like
AEW or
NWA?
it
was AEW. It was during the pandemic era though. She was in like a submission move, and she just was sitting like I am right now. She was just chilling. And then obviously there's one controversy where they claimed that she sandbagged Toni Storm.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
All of that. So, we're not wrestlers. We think we know what sandbagging is. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. Some people are just hard to lift up. I think the one that always sticks in my mind is when Kevin Nash tried to powerbomb Big Show and just kind
Sure.
of dropped him on his head. I don't know if that was sandbag or if
Right.
Big Show's a big dude and he's hard to lift. We're never gonna know,
Sure.
but I'm glad that Jamie Hayter is going to be called women's champion, and we're gonna go from there.
We're gonna go from there to get the split between her and Britt, and it's gonna happen probably not sooner rather than later, but
Probably Revolution.
Probably Revolution. Yeah, you're probably right.
Because what's after Revolution? Double or Nothing?
Yep.
So that would probably be the match at Double or Nothing is
right.
Britt
Well,
and
the
Jamie.
split at Revolution. Yeah, probably. All right. Speaking of CCW guys, man, AR Fox getting signed officially to AEW had a great match with Samoa Joe.
Yep.
If you guys don't know who AR Fox is, please go look up his stuff. I stumbled upon an early match from like the mid 2010s with AR Fox and Brian Myers on an indie show before Brian came back to WWE the second time.
Yeah.
So fantastic match. I got to see AR Fox work live against Brian Cage at a CCW show over the summer. Go check that match out. No, sorry, spring. Go check that match out because that match is incredible.
He's really good.
AR Fox does something at CCW show, like he jumps from the ring post over into the crowd and does this huge dive on Brian Cage. Something stupid.
Yeah.
AR Fox is really good.
Yeah. And nobody really gets the like Samoa Joe, the staple in Samoa Joe matches is when somebody jumps to the top rope and tries to hit like a move on him. He just slowly walks away.
Yep.
They had that spot, but it was on the outside, and AR landed on his feet and then hit a super kick. I was like, what the heck? The dude is legit. He is smooth. I think AEW is the perfect place for him.
Yeah,
because he can wrestle this indie style that people fall in love with. And that at the core, AEW diehards are independent wrestling marks.
Yep.
Like all of it, like me. Like that's something that we love. And he fits that mold perfectly. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do while he's in AEW.
He's really, really good. Gonna have some good stuff. Probably gonna be featured a lot on Dark and Rampage, but he is certainly a guy that you want to go out of your way to watch for sure. Coming back, we talked about Hangman coming back. We talked about House of Black coming back. Ruby Soho, making her return this past week, close to her hometown in Indianapolis. She's been down for a while. Nice to see her come back, getting her revenge on Ty Mello. Why did they change her name, by the way? Do you know? Okay.
Probably not.
Okay.
I think probably when she turned heel, they just changed it.
Okay.
And,
dumb. Anyway, Ruby's
back.
Coming back.
I'm glad she's back. She's not going to. She elevates the women's division as soon as she comes back. And now we got Saraya, we've got Britt, we've got Ruby, we've got Athena, who her heel stuff that she's been doing. She literally wrestled on Dark, I think it was, last week, and didn't even bother to put a ring gear on because she knew she was going to murder the girl she got in the ring with. Like stuff like that is like, that's brilliant. Like she literally walked in, hit the girl, hit a finisher, walked out. Like, okay, cool. That's really cool. The women's division right now in AEW is getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, it is.
And it's heading in the right direction.
Yep.
And I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Then you got Jade Cargill, who comes out in the outfit she came in on Wednesday, and she's going into a feud with Bow Wow, which I love. I love that they're mixing this thing with Bow Wow, and I'm so excited. I don't know where it's gonna go. I just hope she beats the crap out of Bow Wow at some point.
Bro, that segment got zero reaction.
Oh, I know.
From the fans, like none. Like nobody popped when he went on the screen
because they're probably too busy staring at Jade.
Well, I guess. Whatever. Anyway. Like people, I don't know how
AEW fans probably don't care, but it's smart to get a casual fan in that sees Bow. They're like, oh, it's Bow Wow. Let's see what Bow Wow was doing right now. It's like when they were in Baltimore and Lamar Jackson showed up in the crowd and then went and talked about it in the press conference. Like if they want to start making moves and being bigger and bigger, they got to start implementing some of these celebrities. Not necessarily to the extent that WWE has, but like a segment like this, a segment like Bow Wow. Rick Ross showing up in the backstage area was fantastic. Like stuff like that, you got to start implementing that more.
For sure you do. Hey, yeah, and I'm not taking anything away from him for doing that. I just it amazed me how flat this segment fell.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm watching it. I was watching it earlier this morning, actually. And I was like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about this.
No.
So it was definitely an interesting segment. I wasn't a huge fan of Jade's promo, but I don't know. I've never been nothing. Okay, let me rephrase. I haven't really understood the baddies like ever. So like, I don't know. It's weird. Anywho, very interesting that that segment fell short. Ruby's back, women's division, growing stronger. Jamie Hayter, probably the best overall in-ring performer that has been women's champion. I would put her above Britt as far as in-ring, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Riho's really good in the ring.
That's true.
She's so small though, but she can do stupid stuff.
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
and Sheeta was good. Sheeta's good in the ring.
Sheeta is good. I feel like people forget about Riho because she was the first, and we haven't really seen her since.
Yeah,
and it was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
So
and the belt was so small, nobody remembered the belt.
It's true. That's very true. All right, let's talk about what else do we got going on. Oh, speaking of matches and in-ring ability, you can't not talk about Bryan Danielson and Dax Harwood.
Oh my gosh,
what a match! Wow.
It's literally like a wrestling purist dream come true when those two, like Finn Balor and AJ Styles at Survivor Series, this is on the same level of that. Of like, you just know the wrestling is going to be off the chain.
Spoiler alert for our episode next or 2 weeks, our AEW year in review. Is Dax Harwood going to be your wrestler of the year? Is it going to be really close?
He's going to be very close.
Okay. He's in contention.
He's
for sure.
top 3.
He's in contention
right
for sure.
Yeah. He's definitely the most underrated.
Oh,
in my
hands
opinion.
down.
Yeah. Or like the one that, like, at the beginning of the year, if you'd have said Dax Harwood had the best wrestling like year, I'd have been like, maybe, but you know,
right.
I'll say this: my wrestlers of the year on both WWE and AEW are going to be people that I never thought I would have said at the beginning of the year.
For sure. Oh yeah.
So
I know where you're going. For sure.
So
I get that.
Yeah, he's absolutely up there.
And then, like, we're talking about Dax. We're putting Dax over. Dax has been great all year long. Let's not snub our nose at Bryan Danielson. I mean, the dude is like
it feels like, and let me say what I'm going to say first, and then let me backtrack.
Okay.
It feels like he's had just a regular year, but then you go back and look at the matches he's had, and it's like, oh yeah, he put on a classic with Paige, like 2 classics with Paige, and 2 classics with Omega, and he put on a decent match with Jericho, which in this day and age is not the easiest thing to do.
Right.
He had a match with Moxley that was fantastic. A match with Garcia that was ridiculous. Like, and then you look back and it's like, man, this dude is so good that we're just like, okay, yeah, he had a great match. What's new? Like,
exactly, it's what he does.
It's ridiculous.
It's what he does.
He honestly, like, from an in-ring work, I'm not saying like all the other stuff. From an in-ring work, it's getting very hard to deny that he's the great. I think he's the greatest of our generation, like of this generation, in ring, if not one of the best of all time.
He's certainly one of. Yeah, he's one of the best of all time. I don't know that he's. It's
like you don't have a fantastic match with Brock Lesnar unless you're AJ Styles or Bryan Danielson at that size.
That's
like
true.
Finn Balor had a good match with Brock. That AJ and Danielson one were ridiculous. He was the only one, and I'm a Fiend fan. Everybody knows this. He was the only one that had a good match with the Fiend.
That's true.
Like a really good strap match with the Fiend.
Sure.
And strap matches are impossible to have good.
Right.
So like he can wrestle with any style.
Yep.
And it looks like it's just fluid every single time.
Sure does. He's ridiculous. Definitely one of the best of our generation for sure. One of the best of all time. Yep. Definitely. All right. One more thing I have in my notes here is that we didn't mention this at Full Gear, and I meant to, but we did not because we were trying to preview Survivor Series at the same time.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, but what do you think about AEW starting to refer to Jungle Boy as Jack Perry? Like, how does that sit with you? Are you okay? Is it weird?
I'm okay with it because of the fact that I only think of Jungle Boy when I think of Jurassic Express together. So I think with
that
him
makes
not
sense.
being with Luchasaurus, it makes sense for him to go as Jack Perry more than Jungle Boy. I think when they come back together, he'll start going more as Jungle Boy because it fits the role, it fits the gimmick. But right now, I feel like Jack Perry fits him better because I feel like he is starting to try to not lose the Jungle Boy
Sure.
thing, but it's a great independent wrestling gimmick. But now when you're on AEW TV, you want to be Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson,
Especially
Chris
if you're
Jericho.
considered a pillar of the company.
Exactly.
Right.
So you want to be somebody, and I think that makes sense for him to go as Jack Perry.
That makes sense. I hadn't even thought of that. That makes a lot of sense. I'm sure that JR had a lot to do with that.
Probably.
With him saying Jack Perry on commentary all the time.
Probably.
And then he's always pushed for stuff like that. Gotta be real.
Yeah.
Got to know the real people.
Yeah.
Gotta be real. JR is. All right. That covers everything that I had written down. Anything that we missed, man, over the last couple of weeks of AEW. Again, a lot has happened. We didn't even talk about the tag champs, Acclaimed. We've seen some beef with Swerve in Our Glory. Hopefully we'll see what's going on with that. Jeff Jarrett is wrestling tonight on Rampage. If you're listening to this on a Friday, Jeff Jarrett's wrestling in a tag match tonight. Anything else that we missed?
I think tonight as well. It's either tonight or next week that the Acclaimed are going to announce their next opponent for
I think it's tonight.
Tag team championships. I don't know who they're going to announce. I hope it's FTR. I think Acclaimed and FTR would be really good, really interesting. But I also think you could throw in there like a Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
Mm-hmm.
But it may be too soon to pull the trigger on that. But I'm excited to see who they're going to be. The crazy thing is, like, these tags we talked about, like, this year doesn't feel like as big of a year for the tag team division.
Right.
Then you go back and look at the tag match, and you're like, man, the matches are good.
Yep.
Like, the matches are really good, no matter who is fighting for the championship.
Sure.
The matches are really good. So I'm excited to see who's going to challenge for those titles.
It will certainly be interesting. I think it makes a lot of sense to do Lethal and Jarrett, especially if they're on the same show.
Yeah.
They're already advertised. I mean, not that they're going to wrestle, but like, go ahead and announce them as the next challengers. That's fine. I don't know. You got the Bucks that are tied up with the trios titles and Death Triangle as well.
House of Black is going to do their own thing.
House of Black is doing their own thing. FTR is really the only ones. I'm sure they'll pull out a tag team. I'm not saying they'll announce them like this time. I think they'll pull out a tag team that we're not really expecting. No, it's a surprise.
Butcher and the Blade.
But yeah, something like that. Yeah, because
like
they seem to do that. They being AEW seem to do that a lot to get us invested in other tag teams. That's how we got to the Acclaim, because they got booed out of the building not long ago.
I know one of the biggest thing, if not the biggest thing on Dynamite every week.
Exactly.
So
it'll be interesting to see who the next challengers are.
And also, one other thing to bring up, because I don't know if you saw this or not, but on Rampage last week, Dark Order is falling apart completely.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 taking off his mask.
The way that happened,
yeah,
that was legit. Like, that was a great way for that to happen. So the match was Silver and
10.
No, he came out to make the save.
That's right. That's right.
It was Silver and I forget the other dude's name.
Alex Reynolds?
Yes, I think it was those two. We're in a tag match against Roosh and somebody else. I don't remember who the other guy was.
Bandito?
No, because Bandito's the face.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I get these guys mixed up.
And Andrade just had surgery, so when Andrade. Anyways,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. They're starting to beat down on Evil Uno. 10 comes out to make the save, and then just turns on the Dark Order, takes the mask off. And the thing, like, that would have been great on its own. And then walking up and throwing it at the feet of Brody Lee's son. Oh my gosh. Like, that was just crazy. Like, that was not, it was random, but it was like the perfect random of like nobody expected it. And the way they executed, we talk about AEW production all the time. The shot of -1 on his knees, basically in tears, holding the mask, and 10 behind him throwing up the whatever the Andrade symbol is or whatever. Like, that was crazy.
As good as that was, and as impactful as that was, I wonder why they didn't put that on Dynamite. Like, why put that on Rampage?
I think to get people to start watching Rampage. I mean, if they're going to start doing more stuff like that, you got to start tuning into Rampage.
And they didn't even reference it on Dynamite either. Did they, or did I miss that?
I think they did, but I don't remember. It was at some point Excalibur did.
Like, to me, it would have been like, if that's such an impactful moment, you want as many eyes on it as
Yeah.
possible. And I get you're trying to drive people to Rampage, but at the same time, it's like, man, like, you got to maximize the situation and maximize the capabilities of what you've got going on. You know?
Because like we were traveling back from Buffalo after Thanksgiving, and I was in the hotel room, and like I was just scrolling through Twitter because it was like midnight when we got there, so I missed Rampage and I missed SmackDown, so I was like trying to catch up, and I saw that and I was like, that's savage. Like that might be one of the most savage turns in AEW history.
Sure it is.
Right there, because I don't know of any other one that would get that much emotion from, like, because the fans were shocked. Like they had no words. They didn't even boo. They were just kind of like, what is happening right now?
Right. Yeah, that's wild. That's so wild. I'm glad you brought that up. Good job on AEW and their execution. I don't give props to their production team enough. So good job.
When they miss a lot, but when they get stuff right, they get like some of the stuff they shoot at times is really, really good.
Sure.
And then you get a Samoa turn on Wardlow. We're like, you missed it. How do you miss it?
Makes no sense. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. Good stuff. Hopefully everybody is caught up on everything AEW, and of course WWE. We'll jump back on the WWE train next week for our year-end awards. And I'll go ahead and tell everybody right now while they are, so you can prepare yourself for what's going on. We are looking at the male wrestler of the year, the female wrestler of the year, tag team of the year, match of the year, moment of the year, overall pay-per-view of the year, and feud of the year. So that is 7 categories we will talk about for WWE next week. We will talk about those same 7 categories for AEW the following week. And cross your fingers, hopefully we will have a special guest for next week as well.
And we're going to try to have like 2 answers for each one, just so we don't say the same. So that our list isn't the same.
Well, we'll acknowledge the fact that, hey, like, this guy is clearly the best or whatever. Like, there's no denying that this person,
or this was the match,
or
of the
this
year,
was the match, or whatever.
But then let's also look at this. Yeah,
exactly, for sure. So we're gonna try to make it as conversational as possible. But y'all listen to us enough to know that we're gonna agree on a lot of them. But we're gonna have conversations.
I think we're gonna agree on a lot of the WWE ones. I think AEW is the one we're gonna disagree
100%. We're not. I would venture to say we might not agree on any of them.
Probably, I'd say so.
Probably.
Maybe the feud.
Maybe the feud.
Maybe the feud, and maybe the rest.
And maybe the moment. Yeah, maybe the moment.
Maybe the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. So check it out. Again, follow us on social media at PBW Podcast so that we can keep you updated on what is happening and how it's happening and all that, because we may have some tweaks to that too. Still working on it. But next week and then the week after, and then season 3 is over. We're going to take a holiday break. We'll be back after Christmas on January 6th with current products. So make sure that you're following us again at PBW Podcast. Andy is at Andy_PBWP. I am at Chris24. Subscribe wherever you find your podcast and on the BodySlam.net YouTube channel. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. Thanks for hanging with us on this edition of Live on Wrestling Podcast. We'll catch you guys.